Welcome to Steph's Garage Jewelry. Today we have a fun, quick project, and that is the New Year's Eve ring. And each of these is the same pattern, just different variations. I would also want to say thank you to everyone who's been watching my videos. I greatly appreciate it. It means a lot. If you have questions or anything, feel free to contact me. You can contact me here on YouTube or on Facebook at Steph's Garage Jewelry and more. I always look forward to any feedback or questions. With that being said, we got a fun project today, and here I did 3 different variations. Each of these are different length, not just ring size length, but number of bicones and so forth. One reason I don't do bicones all the way around is you want it to be comfortable when you wear. So that's something to keep in mind when making your rings, and that's why usually the back of my rings I have a band. In addition to that, you don't want the beads to be too big where it feels bulky underneath. So that's another reason why I like to do a band on the back side. So here I have bicones, and then I have a combination of drug beads and bicones. And, it's all the same patterns, just a variation of the pattern. So today we're going to go ahead and get started on making that. And I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to do this one here just in some different colors. So let's go ahead and gather our materials and let's get started. Oh, one thing to also note is in this video we are going to do something slightly different than we've done in the other videos for the New Year's Eve, because this is basically building on what we've already learned. Is we're just going to do the same thing, but we're going to do it with the 2 needle approach. If you are having some difficulties in keeping things aligned, you may want to try the 2 needle approach. It might make things a little bit easier for you. So just something to keep in mind. You don't have to do it, but it might make your life a little easier. All right, let's go ahead and get started. All right, so we are going to start off by cutting off our chains, and just like with all the other project, is each base you'll need 2 chains, and the length will be dependent on how long you want that whole base to be. And here we're going to have a base that's going to have 4 bicones, and so we want a total of 7 for each one. And I'll have it up in the notes in regards to the length of chain, depending on how you want, how big and long you want your base. The smallest for this project that you can have your base is 2 bicones in the center. You'll still end up using more than that, but for the 4mm bicones, if you want 2 bicones in the center, that is the smallest you can go, because you need to do that spiral. That would only give you 1 spiral. So the number of spirals will be dependent on how long your base is and how many bicones your base is. So if you have, regardless of the number, if you have let's say you have 3, then you'll have 2 spirals. If you have 4 for the base, 4mm bicones, then you'll have 3 spirals. And then if you, let's say, I would say 5 would probably be the biggest I would go, but it's really up to you. If your base has 5 bicones, then you'll have 4 spirals. So just keep that in mind when you're doing your project. All right, so now that we have cut our chains, and again, I will have the various number of links you need for the chains in the notes, okay? And just to show you how to count them, you go like here. Here's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 links. All right, so go ahead, cut your links, and then now we can go ahead and get started. And I would thread, now we're going to be threading 2 needles here. And so you're going to want your length of your thread. You really probably won't need this much, but it doesn't hurt to have a little extra. I would do 1 arm length and a half, or I'm sorry, 1 wingspan and a half. So that's from one arm to the other, and then half of a wingspan, because we will be reinforcing, okay? Especially since we are using bicones, and we do have potential sharp edges on these Rolo links, because this particular one I have is unwelded. If you have welded, then it's not that big of an issue. But again, if you're using bicones, they always have sharp edges. I always recommend reinforcing any of your stitches as a general rule, but especially with bicones. So what you're going to do is thread your needles with 1 full wingspan and a half, and again, that should be more than plenty, especially on a tiny project like this. Then after you add your needles, and what you want to do is roughly you want to have your needles, so I'm using a 12 and a 10. You can use the same sizes, it doesn't matter. And then, you know, if you need to go up to 12, you can. I have them kind of about approximately the same length with the excess thread. And then I put my bicone on, it doesn't matter which needle you use, right down the center of that, thread. Okay. With this project, especially with how small the chain link is, I found it to be a little easier to do it with the 2 needle approach. And so I'm just going to put it in the notes for the other videos, a recommendation for that, to give it a shot and to check out this video to see how it's done. All right, so we're going to start off with 1 3mm bicone. Then we're going to pick up with 1 needle, 2 11/0 Delicas. There we go. And we're just going to slide that down. And it doesn't have to be perfect. We're just going to get started here. And things are always a little whack. And then with the other needle, go ahead and pick up 2 11/0 Delicas as well. And slide that down. Then with the 1 needle, go ahead and pick up a 4mm bicone. Slide that down. And my project's going every which way. And then with the other needle, and you want to be careful while you're doing this, is not to get your everything up in knots. Go through that same 4mm bicone. And the hardest part is getting started. And then I just like to use my fingers so then things sit correctly. There we go. The advantage here of using the 2 needle approach is that you do tend to start off more balanced. Now we're going to go ahead and reinforce that. So I'm going to take 1 needle and I'm just going to go through the 2 11/0 Delicas, just like that. And then I'm going to take the other needle, and I want to be balanced. Sorry, my project is going every which way. I want to make sure I'm remaining balanced. So I'm going to do, keep in mind, these are walls. So I'm going to go ahead and do the other side, the other wall here. There we go. Slide that down. And things are a little kooky here to start off with. And then I'm going to take the 1 needle, go through that 3mm bicone again. And this will give us a little structure because this is the reinforcement section. And then with the other needle, I'm going to go through that same 3mm bicone again. There we go. Now I'm just going to take the time to make sure things are lined correctly. So basically we did a right angle weave with both needles. But I recommend when you're doing this is to make sure you're being balanced at the time and going through the same spots at the time, and that's going to bring balance. So now what we're going to do is we're going to go up our 11/0 Delicas on each side with our needles. We're going to meet back here at the 4mm and cross over again. And again, I'm just going to go through the 11/0 Delicas first with each needle and thread. just like this. There we go. Now I'm going to go through that bicone one needle at a time, crisscrossing. So I'll come through on this side. There we go. Then I'm going to take my other needle and thread and crisscross to the other side. There we go. Just getting started is the hardest part. Alright, so this is going to be the side of the ring. So, there we go. Let me get you, just show you here. So that's going to be this side we just made here. So we haven't started with the chain, but the next step is to get started on that base. So what we're going to do, just like with our other projects, we're going to consider the links that line up this way, that very first link, with the bicone in between being one wall. So on one side, I'm picking up 3 11-0 Delicas. I'm going to slide that down. Then with the other needle and thread, I'm picking up also 3 11-0 Delicas and sliding that down. There we go. Now we're going to crisscross our first link, bicone link. Just going to take my needle and thread and just gently go through there. Then with the other needle and thread, I'm going to crisscross in the opposite direction. And then I'm just going to pull them together. And there. So now we've gotten started with our base. Now this part is going to be very similar to what we did beforehand. So now we're just going to pick up our 3 11-0 Delicas. Oh, actually, let's reinforce first. So I'm going to go up through with one needle, one side, the 11-0 Delicas. Whoops. And then I'm going to go up the other side. There we go. The 11-0 Delicas. Then we're going to crisscross with that first 4mm bicone, just like we did before. First I'll go through it with one needle and thread on one side. There we go. And just make sure things don't get caught. There we go. And then I will go through that 4mm, that same 4mm bicone, making sure I don't go through any 11-0 Delicas. There we go. There. Now that we got that in, we'll just go ahead and get ourselves back up to this 4mm bicone right here. So I'm going to go up through. There we go. with one needle, I'm going to go up my 11 Delicas on one side. There we go. And then with the other, and I'll tighten things up once I crisscross. And it's going to be difficult, so I'll fix that. There. There we go. And then I'll go ahead and crisscross and tighten things up at the same time. And then I'll do the same thing with the other needle. There we go. All right, now it's back to what we're used to doing, just with 2 needles. So I'll be adding a bicone wherever we have the links standing up, and then where the links are laying flat, we'll be putting the 3 11 Delicas. So first I'm going to pick up 3 11 Delicas with each needle on each side. So here's my first 3. There we go. Then I'll pick up another 3 on the other side. There we go. And then I'll put a bicone in between. And then I'll crisscross between the links and bicones. So here we go. Here's one needle and thread going through the bicone and links. And I'm being careful not to get my thread knotted with each other. So I'm going slow. This isn't a contest, especially when you're doing with the 2 needle approach. There we go. And then just tighten. And then I'll go back and reinforce everything. And I'll keep on doing that to the length I have. And then meet me back here and we'll do this portion of the other sides. Okay? We've completed our base, so we are now ready to do our side accents. And that's just what we did over on this side, and that's how we started off. So we're going to do the same thing with this side. So go ahead and pick up 3 11 Delicas on each side of the thread and slide those down. Then with one needle and thread, go ahead and pick up a 4mm bicone. And then with the other needle and thread, go through that same bicone. And then go ahead and reinforce everything. So first we'll go through with one thread, 3 of the 11 bicones. Delicas. Sometimes. I still get nervous doing this. Alright, and then with the other needle and thread, go ahead and go through the other 11 Delicas on the opposite side. Just like that. There we go. Now we're going to go through that bicone. Actually, we'll go through the Delica, not the Delica, but we'll go through the link, the bicone, and the link. Just like that, with one needle. There we go. And then with the other needle, we'll cross over on the opposite side, link, bicone, link, just like that. Then I will go through the Delicas on the one side. And the reason why I'm switching back and forth is that every time I go through something, I want to equalize it on the opposite side. And then I'm going to go through the other Delicas on the opposite side. There we go, just like that. And then we'll go ahead and cross over through the bicone on one side. And then on the opposite side, whoops, there we go. There. Now we're just going to move down to 2 11 Delicas on each side of the thread. There we go. Just going to go like that. This time I'm going to pick up a 3mm bicone. Cross over on one side of the thread and needle, and then on the opposite side of the thread and the needle, I'll go through that same bicone. There we go. And we'll go ahead and reinforce that, doing one wall at a time. So I'll go through, there we go. I'll go through 2 of the 11 Delicas. Just like this. There we go. And then with the other thread and needle, I'll go through the other side of the 2 11 Delicas. Then I'm going to go ahead and cross over the 4mm bicone with one side of the thread and needle. There we go. Just like this. And then with the other thread and needle, I'm going to cross over. Just like this. And then I'm going to head back down 2 of the 11 Delicas. Everything's flying on my mat. And then on the opposite side, I'm going to do the same thing. There we go. There. Then I'm going to cross over with each needle and thread. There we go. Now we're ready to get started with our band. Don't worry, we haven't done our embellishment yet, so we will go ahead and do that, but first we are going to go ahead and get started on our band, and then we'll do our embellishment when we want to end our everything. So, and reinforce stuff. So what we're going to do is, now we're going to be working with our Delicas. And first you're going to pick up with one needle 3 11-0 Delicas. And then with the other other needle and thread, only pick up 2. And slide that down. So we have our Delicas picked up, and we slide them down. Then the thread that has the 3 11-0 Delicas and the thread that has needle and thread that has the 2, take your needle that has the 2 11-0 Delicas, go through that very final 11-0 Delica on the other thread and needle. There we go. And I'm just going to slide that 11-0 Delica down. There we go. There we go. There. Alright, so now what we're going to do is we're going to get started on a herringbone stitch. So go ahead and pick up 4 11-0 Delicas. Slide them down your thread. Then at 11-0 Delica that is connecting the 2 needles and thread that we started off with, this one here, go through that 11-0 Delica, and you may need to tug this just a little bit, and you want to be careful that this doesn't get caught up. Your other thread and needle doesn't get caught in between your herringbone stitch like mine did. So I'm just going to make sure I get that out of the way so it doesn't create a knot. Move that so it won't create a knot. Things are a little loosey-goosey, but don't worry, we're going to fix that. So go ahead, doesn't matter which side, go ahead and pick and go off to one side, the 2 11-0 Delicas under that one Delica that joins everything. And I keep getting my thread in the mix of things. There we go. Then go through the 3mm bicone. And I'm just going to work from the back because it's going to be easier to keep this thread out of the way because I want that to be in the front at the moment. Then I'm going to go up the other side of the 2 11-0 Delicas. Because I turned this on the back side because we originally went up on this side. I'm sorry, this side. Now I'm going to go down. There we go. And I'm just going to go through that joining 11-0 Delica right here. This one right here, that's the joining one. Go through that. There we go. And then I'm just going to pick a side for the herringbone stitch. Then I'm going to go up. Doesn't matter at this point. Then I'm going to take my other thread and needle just so I know which side I'm going up with the one needle. I want to be on the opposite side with the other. And we'll just put this off to the side after we do this. Alright, so you should at this point, at the very beginning of your herringbone stitch, have a needle and thread coming out of one side, on each side. This off to the side. And now I'm just going to get started with my herringbone stitch. All right, so we've gotten started. Now I'm going to pick up 2. I'm going to go down 2, just like this. Then I'm going to go up 3. So you're always going to go down 3, down 2. You're going to pick up 2, go down 2, up 3. There we go. And I'm just going to tug on the opposite side. There we go. All right, now I'm going to do that again. I'm going to pick up 2, go down 2, and I'm doing on the back side, I'm crossing over on the back side just so my thread is less likely to be seen. And really, you're not going to see the thread anyways. Now I'm going to go up 3. There we go, and that will pull everything together. And I'll show you one more time. There we go, because I think I went out of camera frame just to be on the safe side. So I'll pick up 2 and go down 2. And if you notice, as I'm doing this, it kind of zips together. And that's the beauty of the herringbone stitch. And then I go up 3. All right, don't worry about this thread on the side. We'll be using that in a moment. But do this until you get to the length you want. Just remember, on the opposite side, you see this little bit here, the two 11-0 Delicas on each side, and then the 1 single. You'll have that as well. So keep in mind that amount of space you'll need for the other side. So you want to stop a little short to allow for that room. So when you put your band on and connect everything, it's not going to be too large. So keep that in mind and meet me back here once you get the length that you want, and keep it a little short because we have this extra space that we're going to be connecting everything to. And then meet me back here and we'll go on to the next step. Now we're going to connect our band to the opposite side. So what we're going to need to do is, before we do that, we have our thread coming up on one side of the herringbone. You're going to take, this is why we determined what was one side and what was the other side, so we knew we could equalize it. We're just going to we're going to take our other thread and needle and just go up the one side of the herringbone. There we go. Just like that. Before we do anything further, we're going to go ahead and just reinforce this all the way down. There we go. Just going to come all the way down and go through everything. For a nice reinforcement. And as we do, you see how we have a couple of these that are just slightly crock-eyed? We're just going to go ahead and fix that because that was at the beginning of our herringbone. So we're just going to make sure. There we go. There. We'll go ahead and fix that. We're just going to go up the other side and create a little hug. There we go. And then we'll go up our center. And it doesn't matter which side we pick. We're just doing this to tighten everything up. Then we'll go through our bicone. And then down the other side. There we go. And then reinforce this side again. So we're on the opposite side. There. Make sure our thread doesn't get caught on anything. There we go. Just go all the way up. There. Just like this. All right, now, just like on this other side, we have that one joining, 11 Delica, so we need to put on that Delica first. So go ahead, slide down one 11 Delica. Then take your other thread and needle. There we go. Then with each thread and needle, go ahead and pick up two 11 Delicas. There we go. And slide them down. There we go. Then fold over. And what we're going to do, I'm just going to turn things around and move my thread and needle so they don't get caught up with each other, is we're going to connect that to this bicone. So with each needle and thread, I'm just going to cross over through that bicone. There we go. Just like that. And I'm just going to put that off to the side, and then with the other side, I'm going to go ahead and connect, making sure I didn't twist the band while doing it. There we go. Then I'm going to go ahead and reinforce that stitch one side at a time. So I'm going to go down one side, and I'll go through that joining one. I'll pick a band side. There we go. And then with the other, I'll go down the same way, pick a side. There we go. And pick the opposite side. And then I'm just going to go all the way down to the opposite side. Just like this. Go through the joining 11 Delica, and then through one side of the wall of the two before the 3mm bicone. Then I'll take the other thread and needle, go down the herringbone stitch, just like this. Go through that 11 Delica that joins everything, and then down the opposite side of the wall. So I have my thread over here for the one thread and needle, so I'm going to go to the opposite side. Then I'm going to cross over, because I don't want to create any new thread paths. There we go. Cross over, not creating any new thread paths. There we go. And then one wall leading up to the 4mm bicone. Then the other wall leading to the 4mm bicone. Then I'm crossing over. Whoops. There we go. And then I'm crossing over. There we go, with the other thread and needle. There we go. Then I'm going up the one wall that leads to the base. Whoops. Oh. Gotta turn this inside. Oh no, I had it correct. Okay. Alright, so I gotta go up one wall that leads to the base. There we go. And then the other wall that leads to the other side of the base. There we go. And I'm just going to leave this thread and needle off to the side for now. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick up, now we're going to do our embellishment of the base. So we're going to go ahead and pick up our Delicas, and I'm going to switch over to my accent Delicas. I do need to go through this link, Bicone link first. There we go. So I'll set that off to the side. Then with the other thread and needle, I do need to go through that link, Bicone link as well. So there we go. Process complete. Now I can go ahead, I'm going to use this thread and needle. I'm going to go ahead and pick up 2 11/0 Delicas, 1 3mm Bicone, and 2 11/0 Delicas. So I'm coming out from the beginning of the base of the ring, coming out of this link here. I'm going to go in to the opposite side, and I'm going to go down one link, one Bicone. So I'm going to go create a diagonal going like this. So I'm just going to turn this around here. So I'm coming out of here right now. I'm going to go in through here, through the link, Bicone, and the link. I don't want to go through any of the 11/0 Delicas down here. Slide this over, and it's going to create a spiral effect. There we go. Just like that. Alright, so we just have a couple of these to do, so we'll go ahead and do it. So 2 11/0 Delicas, a 3mm Bicone, and 2 11/0 Delicas. I'm coming out of here. I'm going to go through here. So I'm going through the link, Bicone link. There we go. Just like that. And then I have one more. Picking up 2 11/0 Delicas, a Bicone, and 2 11/0 Delicas. Coming out of this link over here. I'm going to go through to the opposite side. There we go. And I'm going through this link. Making sure I'm not going through, I'm not going through any of the Delicas. This link, Bicone, and then link. There we go. And then all I have to do is reinforce, and I'm going to reinforce that base. That's all I need to do is reinforce the embellishments. And then I'll reinforce them both with both threads. And then once I'm done, as I'm reinforcing, I'll do 3 to 4 half knots with each thread. And then I'll end it, and you got your ring. Ta-da!